Blog Talk Radio. Welcome to the Aha Moments Radio Show for the inspiration, education, and celebration of enlightened living worldwide with your host, Mariana Cooper, founder of Aha Moments International and AhaMomentsWorld.com. Tune in for the next hour and learn to trust your aha moments to lead the way to live a passionate and purposeful life. And now here's your host, Mari.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Aha Moments Radio Show for the inspiration, education, and celebration of enlightened living worldwide. I'm Mari. Happy Tuesday, and I know we have a lot going on in the world right now, but I'm hoping that for the next many minutes we can focus on stuff that's positive and stuff that you can really kind of take control over and choose in your world. And today our show is all about being closer than you might think with your bringing things to fruition with your manifesting projects. Now, I'm going to talk to you about 5 signs that are kind of unlikely that let you know that you are actually about to get what you're asking for. And a lot of times these signs can be counterintuitive. So you definitely want to take notes with this show so you can keep track and start to take a look and an inventory over what's been happening in your world. If you'd like to call in and ask a question about one of your own manifesting projects that you're working on and get some help, the number to call in is 917-889-2626. That's 917-889-2626. And I see people are already calling in and waiting on the line, so that's cool, and I will be getting to your questions in a little bit. Also, we are definitely looking now at our 2018 registration is actually open for our Frequency First Mastermind, which is kind of a deep dive for people who want more advanced work. And it's funny because I have several people in the program now that are already re-upping for our next round of coaching, and it includes private coaching and group coaching. So if you'd like to get the information on that, send us a quick email at support@ahamomentsinc.com. And hopefully you've taken our energetic frequency quiz, but if you haven't, you can go to theahaway.com and check that out as well. Okay, so I think that's it for housekeeping announcements. And let's talk about these 5 signs because, and I've actually talked about this on the show a few times before. I don't know why it seemed like the guides are really pushing. I guess it's because I kind of gauge how things are going for people from my private clients that I have each week, and they generally are a good kind of cross section of where the energy is going. And it's funny because a lot of times what they're going through mirrors some of the stuff that I'm going through, and some of their questions are questions I was asking myself. So it's always kind of cool to have that synchronicity, that syncing up happen. So the first major sign that you might be closer than you think is, believe it or not, having some chaos going on in your life. And generally what happens is when you are asking and you're working towards a bigger goal, a bigger, something that you don't already have, obviously, or, another level of something that you do already have. So, and this is, what our manifesting is about, right? Sometimes we want more commitment in a relationship, or we want, a better version of the job that we have, or we want more clients than, that are similar to the ones we have, we just more of them. So that's when I say, it could be something just more of what you already have or something brand new. Either way, chaos is it can be a big precursor to you getting that. And the reason why is that when you want to add something to your life, there needs to be space. So if you have, let's say, you want this big, soulmate relationship, you may actually hear from an ex or start having a lot of thoughts about a particular ex person from your past, because your frequency is really still in alignment with them. And if you don't kind of clear that energy, you may end up getting that new person, and that new person is a go-between. That new person is just like the old person. It's kind of like the same person, different name. And you kind of go through another, what I call another round of that person, that type of person, so that all of the things that you really kind of needed to heal or shift and sort of outgrow frequency-wise can happen. So if, and I've seen it happen over and over again, if your higher self knows that you will absolutely, ruin or kill your ultimate person because you're not ready yet, they will send you to someone very similar to the last one that you had, so that you can work through, you have another shot to work through, wherever your frequency was. Now, it's not so much to teach you lessons. I know I'm going to sound like I'm contradicting myself. It's not so much to, tit for tat or to teach you lessons or to punish you for not doing it right the last time. What it really is it's your alignment, right? There's really not an issue of timing. It's really always an issue of, are you vibrationally aligned to what it is you want? And if you are not, you will get whatever your vibration is pumping out. And people don't like to hear that because they want to think that what they want in their head is what their frequency is in alignment with. Many, 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 many times that is in no way, shape, or form the case. And the way you know whether you are in a vibrational alignment with that thing or not is it's here. When it shows up, you're in alignment. If it's not here yet, there's something that's not in alignment. Simple as that. It's really, really simple, because just universal law, when you are in complete alignment, it shows up, and it shows up very quickly. So the first thing, like I said, is chaos, and that can read in a lot of different ways. You could be, like I said, having old people show up in your life. I know some people, I noticed that right before I got into this big relationship, every ex that I had known sort of showed up on Facebook, IMing me or whatever, and it was like the summer of ex people. And, one's still complaining about stuff that happened 20 years ago, somebody else complaining about something, and you're like, is this for real right now? But it was just a clean out, right? It's kind of like a living life review. So that is something, that's number two. You could be having a living life review. Now, in the past, before our energy and the energetic grid and all of our frequencies were so advanced and so refined, you would have to actually literally cross over or die to actually have that past life, that life review where, you pass away, you see the white light, then you kind of go through everything that you went through in your life, and you get to reconcile things and understand and blah, blah, blah. Well, now, especially over the last, I would say, decade or so, we've been able to do that while we're alive. So we don't have to wait to pass away to, sort of make those reconciliations. So what you'll find is there's certain times in your life, especially if you've been working hard on a manifesting project, and I'm talking about not like haphazardly here and there, I think I want to manifest something, and you like the word, but you're not doing the work. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who are consistently doing the work. You will find that your life will show you what you need to reconcile. So old things will show up that you thought you were over. Okay, so that could be, like I said, ex-boyfriends or girlfriends coming back into your life. It could be issues with money. It could be issues with your job. It could be issues with your kids or family members. It could be a stubborn, weight loss problem. These things they'll pop back up so that you can evaluate how far you've come. Okay? And this is a very important thing. Do not panic if you think that something or someone has come back up that you thought you were done with. And you think, I'm being punished. Why am I doing this? There's one of two reasons why that person or that scenario is coming back up. Either one, you're still in frequency alignment with that because you haven't, grown past it, or two, it's showing up as part of a life review. Now, the way you know the difference is if it's showing up as a life review, it's going to feel lighter and more transient, and you're not going to have emotion around it. It's going to be like, oh, he called. Yeah, that's interesting. And you'll talk, and you'll feel kind of like indifferent. There's an indifference to it, and it could be an indifference to the weight. It could be an indifference to when you're starting to emotionally detach and frequency detach because you're moving on to the bigger thing, there is a sense of indifference with it. If that person calls you and you're like, oh, my God, you feel like, all that emotion starts pouring back in, then there's still an attachment, and that's what you're still in frequency alignment with, and they're trying to help you to either reconcile it and move forward with it or let it go. Right, and get to that point of detachment. When you feel a sense of detachment, even if something comes up that looks like it used to, like, let's say you've been paying your bills just fine, and then one week, your clients don't pay you, or your paycheck's late, or something like that, and or something unforeseen comes up, and the old you would have gone into a complete tailspin, panic, freaking out, needing to borrow money, wanting to borrow money. But the new you is kind of like, okay, whatever. Something will show up. It's fine. It'll work itself out. It always works itself out. And you feel the sense of kind of detached. It's not that you don't care and that you're being irresponsible. It's just that you know that now it's not really an indicator of your worthiness in life or your ability to do what you're doing or your deservability. It's just, kind of that freak of nature timing thing. And, and you just have the sense of knowing that it'll be fine. And then, sure enough, something comes in and fills in, and it's fine. And you kind of look at yourself from the observer perspective, and you say, the old me would have freaked out. I would have been hysterical. And the new me is like, look how much more powerful I am. Look at, I have so much more trust and faith in the unknown, or trust and faith in my own abilities to, right myself, like a kind of a cat's tail kind of thing. And you'll find that once you are getting to that point of indifference, that those problems start to really go away. And the bigger solution starts to show up. When it comes to money in particular, it's funny, Catherine Ponder, who's a real grandmother of the of the wealth consciousness movement, she always said, you go through stages, because she always, made references to the Bible and stuff, but she said about going through stages like the 40 days and 40 nights in the desert, and having to rely day to day on manna from heaven, meaning every day you have to manifest money to cover that day's thing. Give us this day our daily bread, right, apart from the Our Father prayer. And so she talked about various stages where in your life, when you're going through these kind of in the desert phases, that you have to, it's really a time where you're to learn how to have faith and how to manifest as you need it. So enough for this bill, then that food, then this, and it comes like tit for tat. Money comes in, money goes out. Money comes in, money goes out. And that's actually a skill. It's an energetic skill to be able to have that faith and to be able to have that, I don't know if it's just knowing. It's a time of building knowing. It's a time of building consciousness. It's a time of recognizing that manna can come out of nowhere into your life, and then you get past that phase, right? Where all of a sudden you have that, land of milk and honey. You land in the promised land, and all of a sudden you get that great contract or job or several clients, or you have a whole big career shift, or you have a windfall, or you have sort of, oh, that's interesting. Or you have some sort of windfall, or you have some sort of inheritance or something that comes in and it makes you flush for a long period of time, right, where you're not living hand to mouth. You're not going, nickel by nickel. And that's a different time of life. And so, and when you're in that stage, it's important to continue to advance your skills and not just assume I've arrived and now it's going to be like this forever. It's important to be able to do both, to know how to handle those desert periods of life, and also to know how to handle when you're flush. I know some people, when they get money, when they get flush, they have a tendency to spend really fast on really little things because they're anticipating it running out. So they put themselves into a tailspin because they're anticipating the money running out. And so they start buying and buying because it's about to run out, it's about to run out, it's about to run out. If you're doing that, what do you think your frequency is doing? If you're saying, I have this money, I got this chunk of money, and now I have to spend it really fast, and I've got to, I'm going to only have either or, and then some big, huge bill comes in and kind of wipes it out. Why do you think that happens? And people always say, oh, I don't know why that happens to me. But it's because even though you had a chunk of money, you were holding onto it from a place of vibrational lack. You're assuming it's going to run out, it's going to be fleeting, I'm going to have to work really hard, struggle, and slave to get it to happen again. It may never happen again. I'm always under the gun, I'm always behind, I'm always, and that's your frequency that you're putting forth. So then, you can manifest through panic, right? You can get very, very clear and say, I have to have this money, I have to have it, and you can get it. But then it's fleeting because your frequency is still getting it, manifesting it through the veils of lack, through the veils of fear, through the veils of struggle, through the veils of the past. Because you go back to your past and say, oh, the last time I had this kind of money, this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this one needed, and that one needed, and that, and you create this horrible, and I use the word horrible, and I'm using it on purpose, loop. And it goes around and around and around and around and around, and then you end up in chronic debt and chronic, kind of this chronic rash, right? This chronic financial rash. It's like having hives all the time, eczema or something. So there are cures for that, and the biggest cure is to focus on this frequency first stuff, is to get educated. And it's not just one radio show's worth where you get a little tidbit and a little sound bite and you run with it. That's not what gets this done. Okay, when you have these entrenched behaviors and these entrenched choices and these entrenched vibrational frequencies, they need to be undone over time. And understand, this is something we don't really go into in the show because I kind of try to keep the show at a much higher level. But in the deeper work that we do, one of the things that we focus a tremendous amount on in our mastermind, my classes and stuff, is the fact that you are physiologically also manifesting. So it's not just frequency-wise, it's physiology. Your brain waves, and the way that your brain is wired, it wires based on your habitual thought and your habitual frequencies. So if you are habitually freaking out all the time, then your brain kicks out cortisol and adrenaline and all of these negative hormonal cocktails. And then your body physiologically gets addicted to that particular cocktail. And even if you're trying to shift and change something, you will constantly get pulled back into the old loop because your physiology is attached to it. So this is why we say you have to do a regular daily practice of this manifesting work and of all of these practices, so that you can not only create new physical, new habits in your mental mind and new emotional structures and all that, but also so that you can change your physiology over. Because every time you make a new choice, you start to create new brain waves, new neural nets, new neural pathways in your brain that start to connect with a much better hormonal cocktail of serotonin and endorphins, et cetera, et cetera. And so when you have that hormonal cocktail, then your body starts to appreciate that and crave that. And that's when you start to feel that flow. So it's not just I'm going to grit down or I'm going to listen to Mari's show once every 6 months and I'm going to grab a tidbit so maybe I can get some money this week. That's not going to do it. It's a daily, regular practice, and it gets very mundane and sometimes annoying, just like if you were going to the gym every day. But if you stick with it, what happens is you not only change over and start to see these things start to materialize in your everyday life, but they stay and get better. because you change your physiology and you stop craving hysteria and trauma and drama and stress around your trigger things. And we all have a trigger thing. Some people it's chronic health issues. Some people it's chronic relationship issues. Some people it's chronic money issues, et cetera, et cetera. So wherever that chronicness is, that's your teaching. That's your garden of teaching. Wherever your bed of weeds are, that's where your biggest lessons are as well. That's where, you're being called forward to learn this frequency work, and you're going to be, incentivized by positive things or by negative things, depending on how you're running your world. So, I guess that tangent is just to help you, and guys, they do that to me every so often, was to help you to recognize that this is a daily practice. It's not, a magic trick. It's not a little recipe. It's a daily practice that is worth your time and investment. All right. So one of the third things on my list here. Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. When you are about to manifest what you're desiring, you start to feel out of sorts. Now, this is not about to manifest. It's actually when you're in the new frequency of what it is you're desiring, you may feel kind of off kilter. You're in the new frequency and it's unfamiliar to you. And a lot of times people get into the new frequency and they panic and they go backwards because they don't like the new feeling because it's not familiar. They want to feel, that comfortable. They want to go start a new job and feel like they did when they were at the top of their old job. Not a good idea. It's like telling a high school senior, you're going to feel just as comfortable as you did your last senior year of school, your freshman year, and the brand new freshman in the dormitory in college. You're going to feel just as comfortable as you did, as the homecoming queen from high school. And it's totally different frequency, totally different experience, and it's totally unrealistic. So when you get into your new frequency, when you're really within shooting distance of getting that thing in the material world in its full entirety, you may feel odd and weird. Actually, I've known that certain things have shifted for me, and I've felt as I was going into the new frequency, I felt like some of the colors look different, and even my taste buds shifted. Like certain things that I used to find very comforting to eat didn't feel that way anymore. And certain things that I never really cared about eating, I felt like my body was craving it. So because why is that? Because you're in a whole new parallel. And when you're in a whole new parallel, because you're manifesting what you desire, and that's in a totally different parallel than the one when you didn't have it. You're in a totally new parallel in the parallel where you will have this thing that you're desiring. Your past shifts with that new parallel. Your future shifts with that new parallel because it's a new choice, and your history shifts with that new parallel. So the frequency shifts, and it won't feel familiar. This is where people panic and they go backwards searching for the familiar. So they get into the new thing, which requires more courage, a different point of view, new skills, new willingness to listen to their intuition, just a higher frequency altogether. And they say, oh, I don't want to work that hard. Oh, I don't feel like myself. Okay, let me go back to my old way. And they start their complaining. They start their, all of their old habits. And also because they're going back and forth, they start kicking in that old hormonal cocktail as well, and it can pull you off and pulls you out of the frequency of the new thing, and that puts a big delay in the way. There's your boulder. Well, oh, why isn't it here yet? Why isn't it here yet? Can you tell me if you see in my future in the next year, is this going to happen for me? And why isn't it here yet? That has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with any psychic. It has to do with your frequency and your alignment. And as soon as you are in full alignment, and it'll show up. It's universal law. That's what happens. Okay, so the next thing, and this is very, very counterintuitive, is that when you're about to get what you're asking for, you may very well be bored with the idea of it. And that's because you are in so much alignment with it. So let's say you have a cell phone. You're listening to a show on your cell phone. You look at the cell phone, it's like, oh, okay, whatever. It's my iPhone or my Galaxy or whatever it is, and it has your apps and all your different things on it, and your camera and everything. Remember when you got that phone and it was like the latest, greatest thing, and it was like the new thing, and you were kind of nervous because you had to learn how to use it. What's going to be new on this one as opposed to the last one? And it has the brand new camera that they've all been talking about, Mashable. Oh my gosh, all that. It was a big deal. But now you're bored with it because you already have it, right? It's like, well, whatever. It's my phone, that's it. I have to pay the bill. That's pretty much it. It works. I can make a call. I can't, whatever. When you're about to manifest your big desire, the thing that you really, really want, many, many times it almost feels flat when you think about it. And that's because you are in the zone. It's like flying that airplane and they're saying, okay, everyone, please be seated for landing. And you're just in that those last 5 minutes of the flight where you can feel that the plane starting to descend and you're kind of just ready to get off the plane. You're no longer thinking about what kind of snack are they going to serve or what movie is going to be there. You know that you're not interested. You're anticipating. You're sitting up straight now. You're paying attention. Or maybe you're closing your eyes and you're just managing anxiety or whatever you're doing on the way down, right, on the way to landing. There's no anticipation anymore of the flight. There's no anticipation of the takeoff. There's not that thrust of the plane getting on the tarmac and getting straight and ready to go, and flight attendants please be seated for takeoff, and then that the churn of the engines and all that. There's no more of that churn. You're stabilizing, right? You know how they stabilize, and you hear the flaps on the plane. And it's stabilizing, and it might lean a little left or lean a little right, but assuming the weather is decent, everything, it's just stabilizing, right? And it's descending, and it's stabilizing, and it's descending. Well, a lot of times your manifestations will come in that way as well. And as it's doing that, and it could, take however long it takes, sometimes it's just a configuration thing. You can be very much in vibrational alignment with it, and it's configuring, and that's why you will feel bored. You'll be like, because the more in alignment you are with something, the less exciting it feels because it's your normal. It's becoming your normal. So it's no longer, like if you've ever had a love interest and they don't know you exist, and it's like, oh my gosh, and your heart beats and they show up and it's like, and then when they do know you exist and you've kind of known them for 6 months or a year and you see them across the room, it's like, oh, that's him. And it's not that you don't love him or anything, but, it's not over the top. It's not like seeing him on a stage from afar. He doesn't even know you exist. And he's like, you're not hero worshiping, right? Because you're in alignment. You guys know each other. Maybe you're involved with each other. You're doing things together. So there's not this, celebritized experience anymore. So if you're feeling bored with what you desire, or if you even, sometimes what will happen is if something seems like it's taking a long time, you kind of shelf it. And it's not that you gave up on it. It's just that you got tired of yearning. Believe it or not, when you get tired of yearning for something and you just say, you know what, I'm just going to let this go. I'm exhausted. I'm tired of trying so hard. Whatever. You literally accelerate it coming forward because you get out of the way. And what you really do, as long as you don't go backwards and start to be really negative about it or despondent about it or just assume that, oh, nothing ever works for me, because there's some people who do that. Nothing ever works for me. It works for everybody else, but I know it won't work for me, and it won't work for me because last year I tried something similar and it didn't work, all that. I'm not talking about those people. I'm not talking about that kind of thought process. I'm talking about where you just say, I've done everything I can, and I'm just done with this for now. You literally turn it over to your higher self. Remember, you have both your physical, mental mind and your physical world, and then you have your energetic world and your bigger energetic self, right? And that bigger energetic self actually takes on, before you become who you are today, it decides it wants to have a lifetime, and it takes on the symbol of a body. So it's like your body right now and your mental mind and your physical world right now is just a tiny, tiny symbol in this big, giant ball of energy of who you really are. Well, that big ball of energy is helping you to navigate this world. And so it can give you signals that something, number one, any desire you want has come from that higher self. So it's saying, hey, this is a good idea. You should, move forward for this, align with this. This is something that's available to you. If it wasn't available to you, it wouldn't even come up into your mind. And then when it impregnates you with that idea, then it also already knows the path of least resistance, the path of most allowance for it to come to fruition for you as well. Most of the time, that's where we get the problem, because people start to spin out and try to control and, go to psychics and get predictions, and then they get attached to the prediction instead of aligning with what it is they want. And God forbid whoever's predicting is off, and then they send you into the wrong direction, and then you start to align your vibration with what they said instead of the reality of what's happening. And so you have this sort of push me, pull you energy, this sort of sit and spin energy. So it's important to just be authentic and true to yourself. And really, if you take, even 15 minutes a morning and plug in to your higher self, meaning you just close your eyes, take a nice deep breath, and you sit for 15 minutes. And just with the intention of listening, with the intention of allowing that energy to sort of permeate and support you. And it doesn't mean that you're going to get answers while you're sitting there. That's a big thing that people think is going to happen. They think, okay, I'm going to sit here and meditate, and all these answers are going to come to me. And when I get up from this meditation, I'm going to have all the answers. No, that's not how it works. Sometimes you'll get an answer or two, but most of the time what you'll do is it's just a connection, and it's a purification of your energy, and it's a stabilization of your frequency, and it's a time for your higher self and for your mental mind to commune and align. And then throughout your day, you'll get little ahas. That's when the ahas will come. That's when those little intuitive hits will happen, and the breadcrumbs will start to come. And sometimes it's a big crescendo. Other times it's little signs, symbols, synchronicities, step by step by step. You'll get new insights, right? Insights being sight from within, right? IN-sight, right? So sight's from within. And that within is that higher self. And that's what you're really looking for. So when you choose to sit down in the morning, 15 minutes, 5 minutes is not long enough. 15 minutes is a good length of time. An hour is even way, way better. My advanced people, they do an hour. But 15 minutes is fine. It's more important to do 15 minutes every day than it is to do an hour once a week, because what you're doing is you're plugging in, you're filling up your gas tank, you're filling up your energy tank. Okay? And if you choose not to do that, you're aware of it now because I said it. But if you choose not to do it, I really should do that. I know, but I have all these other things to do, and you start to spin out. What you're doing is you're saying, well, I have this toaster and I have this outlet, and I'm just going to make the toast without plugging it in. I'm just going to make toast without plugging in the toaster, because I don't have time. I don't have time to put the plug in the wall. I don't have time to let the power generate into the toaster. I just want the toast. And what you'll do is you'll keep coming up with untoasted bread. Simple as that. If you don't somehow plug in, somehow, take it down, shut down, your mental mind, shut up, stop asking if it is going to happen now, when, how, when, how. And if you stop that, minutes a day, the beginning of the day, you will accelerate everything for your highest good, because you are communing with the frequency. You are plugging into the power source that creates everything. It creates everything that you want. And that it really, essentially, you're plugging also into your catalog of parallel realities, your catalog of choices. Everything you desire already exists. You don't ever really create anything. whether it's negative or what you perceive as negative or positive. You don't create any of it, you choose it. And so if you have chaos, you're choosing that chaos based on your frequency choice, right? You can be in the middle of a whole lot of chaos in your life but still choose peace. You don't have to be tethered like a tail of a kite to every single thing that's happening and fly off the handle with every single thing, reacting. So, again, guys pulled me off in a tangent. You guys must be like really active. It's so funny. These last few shows have been very, very much on point with my notes, but today it's like, oh, okay, now they're off in that direction. So anyway, back to that point, which was you may be very bored with your desire. Just know if you're bored with it, it's about to show up because you're in alignment with it. And it's become part of your normal. And when it becomes part of your normal, it's way more accessible than when it's off on a vision board and this big, like, extraordinary thing. You know, it's like you have this vision board and you want to go to Milan and you want to have, like, custom clothes made in Milan. And, you know, it's on the board and you're looking, oh, wow, you know, someday when you're really far away from it, it's off in the someday I'm going to have a, and then, you know, a series of things happen in your life, and then all of a sudden you've got your dream person and you're on a private jet, you're going to Milan to get these clothes. And, yeah, it's exciting, but it's not so extraordinary that it seems untouchable because you're actually in the midst of doing it now, right? You're in the tailor, they're putting the clothes on you, whatever. And it's like, wow, it's totally different than when you're sitting looking at it off in the distance because now you're living it. You're in alignment with it, okay? Okay. Fifth thing. Okay. So one of the things that the frustrating things that happens right before you're about to manifest something is that it feels like you're so close and yet so far. So you have yes and no's and yes and no's. It seems like, okay, well, if there are 6 things that have to be in alignment, 4 things are there, 2 things are not, and you're waiting for those other 2 things. And when you put yourself into wait mode, and this is the point of this one, and you say, okay, I'm just waiting for these other 2 things to hit, and then I'm there. When you put yourself into wait mode, or I have to be patient mode, what that does is it focuses you on the lack of it. So what you want to do is say, I'm in allowance mode. I'm in allowance. It's loading in. I'm in allowance of that, and I'm going to focus my energy on something that already has its own forward momentum. Right? You know, you let. It's kind of like if you're Italian making. Some people call it gravy. Other people call it sauce. I'm from Jersey, so I know these things. For Sunday dinner, you know, and the sauce is sitting on the stove for hours and hours and hours. They're not in there like reconfiguring it every 20 minutes. They allow it. You know, it may stir here and there, but then they check on it, but they allow it, right? Because they have a certain knowing. After a certain period of time, it's going to be ready. So you want to, if you're getting some yeses and some nos, and it's going up and down and up and down and up and down, what you want to focus on is being at peace, is being in a state of allowance, and what I mean by that is just don't go into panic. Right? Because if you go into panic, or what other people do is they start to analyze it over and over and over in every which way, and then they start to talk about it with their friends and their family, and they analyze it, and then they start pulling cards, and you get into the spin. And all of that questioning, analysis, and I'm not, you know, of course you're going to analyze some things in a basic way because that's just human nature, and it's not a bad thing. But when you get into that kind of chronic level, and you just can't, you know, no analysis is going to fix it. It really needs just some time, and it needs some space for the remaining pieces to load in. You're better off to just get out of the way because it's really, really close. You wouldn't have the first 3 things if the last 2 things weren't going to come available. They may not come available in the way that you think they will, though. And that's something that, you know, it's important to get out of your own way. Things will, this is probably a 6th thing, but things I would say 99% of the time come in totally differently than you could have ever imagined. Remember, manifesting, and it's the word is a hard word because it has an ing on it, which means that it feels like you should be doing something actively throughout the entire process, right? Because I'm manifesting this. Manifesting is not goal setting, okay? Manifesting is not goal setting. Manifesting is allowing, okay? So there's a lot of inaction that's active, okay? What a lot of people, what they do is they say, "Oh, I'm gonna manifest this thing. So I have to do work. I have to work, and like a whirling dervish, work, and they're thinking, oh, if I do that, and if I do this, that's not manifesting. That's just doing a lot of stuff. Okay, manifesting is understanding how energy works, understanding how frequency works, setting that intention, getting very clear on your vision, getting your emotional signature of what it's going to feel like when you have it, and living out that emotional signature, and then allowing it to load in and show up as it's going to show up. It's not, okay, I've done this visualization, now how do I make it happen? Okay, that's not what that is. That's just working. It's allowing. Often what you'll find is that, especially when you're about to get what you're asking for, things will take a very strange, different turn than you expected. You'll get some sort of knowing or some sort of, it feels like a leap forward, some sort of all systems go kind of thing on something that you just never could have seen yourself doing before, but, it's just like, hey, I'm supposed to do this. I remember when I was back in Jersey and I was watching the Kardashians and the Beverly Hills Housewives every day because I was determined I was going to get to California. And in my circumstances, it couldn't feel more far away than it did because I had such a oneness, such a direction, and a commitment on the kind of the silent part of the energy. It was working. It was working really, really hard. It was just going. Now, in my personal life, where I was living and everything, all holy hell was breaking loose. It was like all kinds of crazy stuff. Neighbors were lunatics. I remember a car flipped over in front of the house, and like this elderly person was literally hanging upside down from their seatbelt right in front of my house. I'm looking at the axles of the car right outside my front door. Then a tree sliced down the middle of a house across the street. Then another tree. Then a car literally ran off the road and slammed into a tree at another house across the street. Like there was you talk about chaos. There was insane intensity, and it was because I was being uprooted. It was like every time I would try to find sort of that comfort zone of how I had felt like the first few years I'd lived there, where it's like, oh, okay, I'm at peace. This is a cool place. I'm fine. Because it was going to take so much energy, so much engine for me to go 3,000 miles away, right? And so everything started to uproot. And so these things don't necessarily, when you're, they always say be careful what you wish for. And I'm not trying to scare you or anything, but when you're really close to your resources coming for that, like in that case, my big move, the resources, I had no idea how it was going to happen. Everything around that started to uproot. So there was no finding my way into resettling my energy. You know what I mean? So I couldn't just go back to my old comfortable way. I could go out with my friends. We could do our routines and things like that. But it still felt like I was extremely restless. I was also, every time I thought I would try to find some equilibrium or stability back there, and then all of a sudden, the money came, all the dots connected, and boom, 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 boom. Next thing I knew, I was on a plane. But it was a very intense intense time. So things will, right before you're about to get what you're asking for, things can really intensify. I think people have this, when the movie The Secret came out and everybody who was manifesting with vision boards and the mind movies and all this, they were like, oh, it was just all, they had, producers pick things because ratings are good, right? And then people want people to adopt ideas. And so they pick these testimonials and things of people who had an easy time with it, or it seems like they have an easy time of it. And they, so it looks easier than it is. But it's not always just this perfect, smooth sailing. There are times that you have to have courage. You have to have that faith, yes. But faith a lot of times, I was going to say faith with inspired action, not chicken without a head action, because that usually gets in the way. I guarantee you that whatever your mental mind is conjuring up with all the things you should do and leave no stone unturned and get all your to-do lists and all that, everything that your mental mind is doing kind of on its own, that when you're not doing the meditations in the morning, you're not consulting with your energy, you're not focusing on frequency, you're only focusing on your mental mind, your how-to, your past, what happened to other people, what normally happens, what always happens, blah, blah, blah. Whenever you're doing that, I guarantee you are adding in probably 100 steps. So what really, if you leave it up to the universal energy, they're always going to give you a more efficient way. It might be a side door. It might be different than what you expect, but they are always going to give you a much more efficient pathway. If there are steps that they can take out, they will be taken out. But if you're really, 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 really attached to doing it all yourself and taking control, and having your mental mind be in control, you will slow yourself way down. So that's another reason why you'll get sometimes, it'll feel like you're so close yet so far, because you're getting, like a lot of times what happens is people get like 3 or 4 things going in the right direction. Oh, I know it's coming. And then those other 2 things are not there. So they say, okay, I just need this, and then it's here. Bam, and the whole frequency thing, and they start to go after it physically. They start to go after the mental thing physically, and they get in the way. And as they get in the way, it slows the frequency down. You literally throw yourself out of alignment with the ultimate goal. You start to backslide, right? You start to backslide, and then undo, and you start to pick the old frequency, and then, of course, the universe is completely neutral. So it's like, okay, well, if our dominant focus is on the old way, then that's what she wants, and let's just give her the old way. Okay, so it does take some courage. More importantly, it takes education. And this is why I was mentioning that mastermind course. I have found that the girls who are in that mastermind, their manifesting goes so much faster, and actually so much they get through so many different habits they didn't know they had, because they have a ground person. They have me saying, okay, no, it's this, it's not that, blah, blah, blah. Try this way, do that. So it's important. Invest in your time and your energy to get educated, whether it's me or somebody else, but just make sure that this is a consistent practice. It's like working out, or eating well, or working on a project or whatever. It requires, care and consistent attention. Okay, so I see that we have callers here on the line today. So I'm going to take a couple of callers. And the number to call in, if you haven't done so already, is 917-889-2626. So I think we will take Donna in California. Hi, Donna. Are you there? Yep. There.
Oh, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I heard my mom, who's on the other side. I do a lot of meditation and all, and I heard her in her voice. I hear my nephew too, and she said, you're going to be rewarded. And then a couple days later, I've been playing her lottery numbers, and I played her numbers, but I switched them around a little bit, and the last number I put 1, instead of in the beginning. I made it the mega number. And all day I've been thinking 4 is going to win, 4 is going to win, and I didn't play it because I was playing my mom's numbers. And then I had a funny feeling in my stomach afterwards that something wasn't right. And sure enough, 4 of her numbers came in, and my 4 came in as the mega, but I didn't play it. I would have won $15,000. But I'm hoping that that's not what they meant by you're going to be rewarded when I heard my mom say that I was going to be rewarded.
So what's the question?
What do you think it is that I will be rewarded with? A lifestyle, a husband, a winning?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Oh, you don't?
Here's what I will. This is what I will say about that. When you have someone from the other side letting you know that, then it's true. And what you want to do is not get in the way of it by trying to mechanize it. And what you found, I think that lottery thing is a test for you. It was just to help you to, I mean, clearly it's not so much a test to test your abilities or anything like that, but it was just to show you how to get out of your own way by helping you to get in your own way so you could see, like, that feeling. You got the feeling about the 4. You got the feeling about the number. You know what I mean? So so what I would suggest is, keep, playing in that way if that's, where you're feeling led. And just to follow and to get very, very clear, and definitely the meditation in the morning. If you're getting that clear of a connection with her, then I would follow that. I'm not going to, start predicting things so then you get caught up on what Mari said. I think it's really important because otherwise you'll miss her. When somebody's on the other side, it's a very, very, very thin veil between you and them. It's just literally she's not carrying a body around, but she's right there. So the other thing I would highly suggest is to light a blue candle when you meditate. That helps you to focus, and it'll help you, in the case of what we've been talking about, to get into alignment with what she's saying and the steps to take. So I hope that's helped. I'm going to jump off to the next person, but I hope that's been helpful.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Have a great one. Take care. Okay. Next we have Laura in New Jersey.
Hi.
Hi, Laura. Hi, how are you?
Hi. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. What's your question?
Well, I would like to know, I've been trying for a number of years to manifest being able to qualify and purchase a home. And I found a home that I really love, and it resonates with me more than any other home that I've ever looked at. And I just, when I walked in the home, I felt very deeply to my bones that this was my home and that it was meant for me. It checked all my boxes, and that's never happened for me before. So I'm a contractor, and I have been working to manifest this, asking for help, asking God, asking the angels for this, and to qualify. So I'm going with the realtor. I'm going back and forth with the broker, what I need to do to qualify. And I feel like, just like what you've been saying, I feel like it's going to happen. Everything feels like it's falling into place, almost as if God is retrofitting everything for my specific circumstances, because even the seller isn't ready to move until like the end of February, somewhere in the middle of March, which is perfect for me because that gives me enough time to come up with the down payment. And ordinarily, the circumstances would never happen. So it just, and then I'm on a 1099. It's the first time I switched from a W-2 over to a 1099, and wouldn't you know it, the broker says I have to be on a W-2. And so today, literally, I started getting bombarded with multiple calls about this one job rec that went out. and so I submitted for it today, and it's a W-2, and it's a long-term contract, which would mean that in the contract I'd have no end date. It just feels like everything's working towards me getting this goal finally. And I was wondering if you were picking up whether or not you see that happening. Am I right? Is this really actually manifesting for me?
Okay, so there's one is you're absolutely in alignment with the process of this thing coming to fruition, and the thing that's literally holding you back is you asking for a prediction of whether it's going to happen or not, and it's not because you're asking me, but it's because that question in your head of is this going to happen or is this not going to happen literally is the only thing that's holding you back from getting it, because what you're doing is you're looking at the manifestation from a position of it's not here yet. And what you're also doing at the same time is you're looking at this as something that you already have. Because if you weren't in the place of I already have it, it wouldn't be configuring as well as it is, right? But when you, and it's a really, and this is why manifesting is so much more important than prediction. I know you want reassurance, but here's what I can tell you. Everything is falling into place for it, so that means that both scenarios are true. The scenario, yes, there's a parallel where you have that house, just like you said, and yes, there's a parallel where you miss and you don't get it. All of the potentials exist. That's when they say infinite potentials. They all exist. What's going to pull one in over the other is your steady alignment with the outcome that you desire. And when you worry, you pull yourself out of alignment, so you get a delay. Like the job comes through or it doesn't, and then all of a sudden it does, because you kind of salt and pepper your soup. So what I'm going to suggest to you, because you are so close, is to say, this is where I choose and this is where I'm going. Trust me when I tell you that if that's not the house for whatever reason, another one is going to be right behind it, because that's just what happens. That'll have an even bigger box check that you couldn't have even imagined. But what's more important right now in this, and this is really important that you bring this all the way to fruition, because it's giving you the backbone and strength for stuff that's even bigger and better than the house. You'll get the house, and then there's going to give way to another desire, right? So you're going to lean into this experience to sort of set up ability to align with future things, right? So it's really important for you to be successful in this, because this is, like I lean into my relocation all the time. Like, oh yeah, when I relocated, this happened. I had a blind spot here and a blind spot there, but I stayed steady and it all worked out. You can lean into it. One other thing I want to say to you is this. I think that one of the reasons why you might have it, you're kind of in that limbo stage too, is because you're kind of going back and forth between two belief systems. The belief system that something is granting this to you, like angels and, whoever else, and the belief system that you're choosing this through your manifesting. Those are two different belief systems. The angels and guides and all that assist you in vibrationally aligning with what you desire. They're not granting it to you like it's a wish, right? So what I would highly suggest is if you're going to involve angels, ascended masters, guides, beings, and all that, Jesus, whoever you're involving, ask for them to support you in the complete alignment and to this desire. Okay? Because when you say, give this to me, or I'm wishing for this, or I want this from you, or please grant this to me, and I'm being really good, and I'm being perfect, and I'm doing everything I'm supposed to, and this is, you push yourself away. You literally pull yourself out of alignment with it, because you're saying it's not here yet, and now I even have to have a middleman give it to me. And that's actually not the case.
And one of the things that happens to me when I start to doubt, I will start to find pennies around the car usually. But you're getting all the signs. I'm gonna have to jump off because I was coming down the stairs
right now.
I'm sorry, I'm just getting the pennies, and I think it's just reassuring to me to, like you said,
reassurance is going to come when you're in alignment. And that's what the angels are there for reassurance and to support you in aligning completely. So I'm going to have to jump off, but I'm wishing you all good things. It's right there. Don't give up. You're right there. All right. Have a great night. Okay. Well, boy, that went fast. And we are at the end of yet another Aha Moments radio show. So if you'd like to get information about our mastermind, just send us an email at support@ahamomentsinc.com. And we will see you same time, same place next week. And we will end with my motto, which is, you truly can have exactly what you want. You absolutely deserve it too. And in this new energy, anything is possible. Take care, everybody. Have a great night.